Now, MPs will debate a petition today which demands that the government reverses its plan to make farms pay more inheritance tax.
Peter is on a farm in Suffolk for us this morning, and he is not alone. Morning, Peter.
I'm not alone, and I'm also with refreshment. So we have good Suffolk bacon here. It's a lovely bacon sandwich, but I can't eat it just yet because I've got some chatting to do first. But bacon sandwiches, coffee. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We're all stood here because there is that debate you mentioned in Westminster, 4:30 this afternoon, and these guys are going to be making the three hours, something like that, journey, 80 miles or so to London from where I am in Suffolk, and it's all to do, of course, with the government's plans to change the rules around inheritance tax. So just a little reminder on where those plans are. These, of course, will kick in from April next year, means that farms will be subject to inheritance tax 20% rate for a value above that £1 million level. Of course, up until now, farms had been exempt. Combined with the changes to tax relief, well, it means it will raise around £230 million in the first year. The government says it's to fix public services for everyone. The government also says it'll only impact around 500 estates a year, but of course those figures heavily disputed by the farming industry, who say this is about much more than just tax. And let me bring in a couple of farmers to chat about just this. Russell, Will, ninth generation farmer, so you can trace your family back on your farm to when?
1762, so we've been farming on the same farm since for 263 years.
Extraordinary, not quite as impressive, but still a long time. Third generation on the farm you're on, Russell.
That's right, fourth generation in all. Yeah.
You heard me saying, you'll have heard these arguments, we're sort of 3 or bit months into this now. The government say, look, this is only going to impact around 500 estates a year. The figures are sort of heavily disputed, though. You've sort of done a bit of maths, haven't you?
We've done some maths, and not only that, the OBR and the NABD have done their figures. It's now going to affect probably 75% of farms. It's going to be much worse. It's going to have a catastrophic impact on the farming industry. It's worrying for us all.
I mean, Will, you heard me mention that as I say, we're 3 and a bit months into this, but farmers are saying this isn't just about the tax, it's about food security. But can you explain that to us? Because for people who are watching who don't know how farms work, why would this impact where we get our food from?
So we're around about 62% self-sufficient in food.
In the UK?
In the UK, which I feel is not a good position to be in for a start. And going forward, if farms become less viable and farms are sold off and not used for producing food, we enter a very dangerous position. There's conflicts around the world, there's climate change, political situations around the world that are really going to impact the supply of import of food. So we need to make sure we can guarantee food supply for the people in this country.
So the idea being to mitigate the tax rules, farms are going to be broken up, potentially that would impact our sort of food security going forward.
We shouldn't be relying on the cheaper imports coming to the country that are grown at substandard levels to what we're producing food at.
The argument being from the government that this is a fair and balanced way of doing this. We've all got to pay sort of a tax contribution, and this is, in the government's view, to fix sort of public services, and that's for everyone, not just
we understand that, but the money is not there. We're rich in assets. We are making less than a 1% return on what we're making on the farm. So the money's not there in the bank. It's not there to be able to pay this. Let's take a 200-acre farm, for example. Okay, so a farmer on his own on a 200-acre farm would have to pay 136% back in inheritance tax. So 136% of what he's making. He can't do it.
And the only solution is to sell his asset, which makes his farm unviable. And we don't want that situation where that continuity of generations through on the farm is broken up, because that generational connection with the landscape is so important, not just for producing food but for the environment as well. There's trees on my farm that have been planted by generations before. There's hedgerows, field shapes and sizes. That connection to the landscape is just that. It's generational. I can't stress that enough.
And finally, just briefly, I love the fact that you're in near Stone Market, is that
Correct,
right?
yes.
And you're in Tattingstone, so
Tattingstone,
not a million miles away from each other, but you've come together through this.
Yeah, we have. I mean, just going back to what Will was just saying there, a prime example, I was thinking about this, I had somebody say it to me the other day, it's a bit like a fisherman who has to sell his boat, okay, to pay his tax,
But the
he's
government wants them to
still
keep fishing.
expected to keep fishing.
Yeah, all right, Russell, Will, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us at an early hour. But of course, they're going to get ready to make that journey, as I said, to Westminster. Big rally later, and then the debate in Westminster Hall about 4:30 today. They'll be making the journey. They'll be visible on the roads. We'll also be able to hear you, I think. Can we have some horns? No, we're not ready with the horns. We should have rehearsed that earlier. There is a very loud horn. Maybe I'll bring it to you a bit later.
Have your bacon sarnie first, Peter. Thank you very much indeed for now. See you later.